Good morning, I'm Darren and welcome to my new channel, Living Retired. My wife and I retired in our mid-50s and I'm going to show you on this channel how we get free accommodation all around the world. There's going to be no hype, no exaggeration. All I want to do is add incredible value for you guys, whether you're retired or not, on how you travel around the world for free. Now let's get to the good stuff. We've all travelled interstate or we've travelled around the world, and there's nothing worse than staying in accommodation where you don't feel like you got great value. In fact, not getting great value with anything is quite annoying, and we definitely don't like it at all. Just think about it. You're away somewhere, you're out and about experiencing or getting amazing experiences all day long. You come home late at night to the apartment or hotel, you go to bed, wake up next day, and you've just spent $200, $300, $400 for that night, when really you could have stayed somewhere else for free. I barely remember any of the hotels, etc. I've stayed in over the years, but I'm definitely remembering all the experiences we're having at the moment with free accommodation. I remember every one of them, and I'm sure I will do for the future. So getting back to that value proposition I spoke about, I definitely don't feel like you get great value when you wake up in the morning and you spend hundreds and you've only just slept there. You haven't even been there hardly all day. Now, we've all travelled like that for years, so there's no shame in that. It's just that now we've come up with something totally different. Now what we do is we've put our apartment in the city on home exchange, and we let wonderful people from around the world stay at our apartment for points. And then we use those points to stay anywhere around the world for free. How good is that? Seriously. Now I say wonderful people because after a dozen or so exchanges, I must check for you later, each and every one of them has looked after our apartment just like we've looked after others' apartments. Now it's not the most expensive apartment. It's only about 50 square meters or 500 feet to others in the world, and we purchased that about 18 months ago. It was a little bit run down, so all we did was add new carpets. Michelle touched it up with some nice paint. It's only a small job, but she enjoys painting and I don't. And it's only a one bedroom, but it's got amazing views. It looks quite classy, and it's really comfortable for us, which is perfect. And from all reports, the reviews we've had from all our home exchanges that have stayed there, they absolutely love the place. So it's certainly been a winner. And because it's in a great position in Melbourne, with stunning views, we get over 200 points per night for that accommodation. It's only one bedroom, but it's really quite comfortable. It's come up looking really classy now. The views are amazing, and it looks over South Bank and the river. So it's a really highly valued home exchange accommodation for anyone that sees our listing. We actually live in the country, but we go back and forward every week, and we might stay there for 3 or 4 nights. We just come and go as we please, depending on if we have exchanges going on, etc. And we just sort of work around that now. It just gives us great flexibility in our life, and it's something that really works for us. And there's another thing for sure, which is probably on your mind at the moment. You definitely do not need a secondary home like we do to make home exchange work. You can use the home you're currently living in, and it's no problem at all. And there's actually more properties of single home owners on home exchange that use their properties than there are secondary. So there's no questions, it works. Now, one way of using on home exchange is called a reciprocal home exchange. And I can give you a bit of an example of that. It's obviously sometimes where we might stay in someone else's property and they go to our property. But as an example, I can give you, in June this year, we're going to London for 2 weeks. So we're staying in this luxury apartment for 2 weeks in London. Those homeowners are actually going to Canada, and the homeowners out of the Canadian property are also going to Europe. So that way is going to be a 3-way reciprocal. And it's just about getting on the platform, sending some messages and seeing what works for everyone. Because there's always a win-win. You just need to work it out. You might have to be flexible with some dates, but that's okay. There's nothing wrong with getting free accommodation in beautiful cities like London. In the example I've just given, there is an exchange of points because we're not actually doing a total reciprocal where I'm going to London and the homeowners from London are coming into Melbourne, okay? We're doing a 3-way, so there is a point exchange in that situation. But like I said, had I exchanged with the homeowners from London and they were coming to Melbourne, there would be no exchange of points at all. It'd be simply a straight swap, and it's called a traditional reciprocal exchange. More to the point of this exchange in June, July and August, when we go to the UK for 7 weeks, we're going to most likely have our apartment pretty much booked full for those 7 weeks, and if we can do that, that's an extra 11,000 points while we're away, not needing the property. And those 11,000 points, if you divide it by, you know, roughly 200 points per night we use to stay at someone's apartment anywhere in the world, that's equivalent to another 55 nights free we can then use for our next major trip, again at no cost. It's very addicting, and it's a life-changing way to travel. So you can see, by being part of Home Exchange, in our particular case, and hundreds of thousands of others, it's an absolute no-brainer to be a part of a platform like this. Now let's talk about the people that actually come to our apartment for these exchanges. We've never actually met any of them, although some do. We just haven't had the opportunity to meet any yet. I'm sure we will at some stage. In fact, there's a place in Ireland where they've got a log cabin in their backyard, so I've got no doubt we'll meet them guys, and it's going to be fantastic to meet someone. But we just haven't had the opportunity yet, so either way, it doesn't really matter. You don't need to meet these people. You can see their reviews. You can certainly go and check all their reviews before they come into your property, and if they've done anything wrong, other home exchanges on the platform will have certainly told you so in the reviews, and you can just skip by them and say, sorry, it's not available. This is definitely not Airbnb, where these guys come in for 3 or 4 days, party over a long weekend, wreck your place and then move out. Nothing similar at all has been our experience. These people are just respectable and honest people who want to have some new experiences in your city or country. It's simple as that. Like I said, we've had many home exchanges now, and there has not been one, not the slightest issue. We basically walk back into our apartment after an exchange, and it's just as we've left it. I kid you not. Actually, for my next video, I'll do a live walk into the apartment, and I'll show you how the young Korean girl has just how she's left our apartment after 9 nights. And so make sure you watch that video if you're a bit curious about how this all works and understand the people that you have in exchanges. Now, of course we were nervous the first few times we done an exchange with people. You don't know what to expect, new to the platform and all that, so you really don't know how it all works. So after some time, you start to get comfortable, and you quickly realise that, you know, how respectful and everything these people are, and there's going to be no issues. But you quickly realise that if you've done your homework and you're putting people with good reviews into your properties, you soon come to understand that while there can be an issue, of course there can be an issue, there's no question there can be an issue, but if you do your homework properly, put people into your property that are respectful and honest, like their reviews show, and you also realise that there's no travel comparable to this. There's just so many options with flexibility, like I spoke about earlier. In relation to other travel, of course, we'll still do some group travel here and there, because we like to travel with Tripadeal, which is an Australian company which have some fantastic deals, so we'll still do them, there's no question, as they just offer some great value, and that's all we're after: value, value, value. But as far as travelling on our own, I'm sure we probably won't ever do any sort of hotel travelling again. Of course, we may get stuck somewhere in between. Someone might not be able to give us an extra night, or who knows what can happen in the future. Something always pops up, but of course, if we need to stay one night or two in a hotel, well, we've been doing that for 30 years, so we're not going to go sleep on the streets. And how's this for maximum flexibility? If any of you guys have got adult children, there's no harm in you accumulating points in whichever way, first home, secondary home, and sending them on their way to London for a couple of weeks, like in the accommodation that I've got, for example. In fact, we've already had a daughter in May this year. She had to go to work in Florida from Australia, but she also extended the trip for another week, and she stayed in a fantastic resort in Tampa on our points. We've got my son, he's going to Canada and America with his girlfriend this year for 3 weeks, and I can assure you he won't be paying any hotel prices. He'll be staying on our points for sure at all the properties I hook up. And there's another daughter next year with her boyfriend. She wants to go back over to the UK. Oh, not back over to the UK, she's never been before. But we're hoping that she stays, we can get the property that we're going to be staying in, because it's going to just save them thousands and thousands of dollars. And that money they can then use for experience of their own, okay? Accommodation, as you know, is the most expensive part of anyone's trips, especially if you're traveling the world. And this is just one way where you can put a line straight through that. You know, you just don't need to have the major cost being accommodation. Your major cost can be all the experiences you have. You know, airline tickets are fairly cheap these days, so if you can pay that off early in your travel planning, then you hook up your accommodation for free. You purely need spending money then. That's all you need. So please make sure you like and subscribe this video so that the next one you don't miss, which is the one I mentioned earlier. I'm going to go straight in on a live walk-in. I'll show you how the girl from Korea has left our apartment after a 9-night stay. I'll show you our apartment, I'll show you the views, and we'll talk more about this just life-changing travel platform. Catch you then. Come on. Let's go, Charlie. You're getting a bit slow.